So, hello guys, welcome to Fairy Tale Podcast. We are on our fourth interview for our weekly cosplay interviews. So, guys, if you want to be interviewed for your cosplay, or if you know somebody that you think should be on the show, send us an email to fairytalepodcast@gmail.com and we will get that scheduled because we're trying to do at least one cosplay interview a week. And yeah, that's all that. We're joined with Jeremy Miller this week. Epoch Cosplay. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But
I go by Epic.
Epic.
Kind of a play
Okay,
on
there
words
we go.
with Epic,
It looked
EPIC.
like Epoch, and I was like, "Is it Epoch? Is it Epic?" Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, Epoch kind of sounds like Tupac though, so it kind of gives it that
A little bit.
toughness.
And I just realized that I probably shouldn't be on Destiny while doing this because everyone is like trying to join me. So
Nice.
all right, so let's start off real quick with the basic question, and then while you're doing that, I'll put myself on mute and tell them I'm gonna have to leave because I'm doing an interview. Uh, but what got you into cosplay? What was it about? Like, how did you discover nerdy culture, and like what was it that finally was like, I want to be this character? Because everybody has their own kind of personal stories, so I wanted to cover that real quick.
If I wanted to be cool, I could be like, I've been cosplaying since I was two. My parents first dressed me up as Spider-Man off
I
season.
don't think Halloween counts.
Yeah, well, you do the thing as a kid where you're
Otherwise,
dressing up as like the Lone Ranger or Iceman or whatever, Superman. But that doesn't count. No, for me, I kind of went in through the back door because I started attending fan conventions in 2009, starting with MTAC, and then the first GMX was a spinoff of MTAC. Um, and I became really involved on the programming side. The 2010, I started doing some panels. 2011, I was brought on staff for a Geek Media Expo. And, it was something, so I was always around this, and I was attending a lot of conventions on the side, primarily doing promotions for both GMX and MTAC. And, I was always just around the community and became friends with a lot of people who were attending and started dating somebody in 2012, and she was really encouraging for me to start cosplaying, and so I kind of dipped my toe in the water with that, and I had fun with it, but I was still kind of hesitant because I thought like I'm a con staffer, I have to keep up this image. It was a really silly thing to want to differentiate myself from that. There was really no basis for it. I stopped doing convention promotion and working on the executive side last year or so. After that, I was kind of like, you know what, I still want to be a part of this community. And I'm just somebody who can't just show up. I have to do more. I have to be a part of this. And so that really is what kind of inspired me to take it up, full force. And along with that, with my job, I travel quite frequently, and it's domestic travel, it's international, and I was in Dubai for the Middle East Film and Comic Con. I was actually working this event. I work as a global events manager for Gibson Guitars, and when I was in Dubai, it was like one of the last days I was there, and I'd already attended this amazing Comic Con that they put on. And I was visiting an arts district that was like kind of built off of a mosque. So it was this really old building. Um, and I was just walking around and, observing the surroundings and such. And so there was this elevated area where you could walk up and you were it was like walking around the parapets of a castle. And so when I was doing this, it occurred to me, it was like, this is like being in Assassin's Creed. Just this layout of the city, some really old buildings. And I was like, how awesome would it be to do an Assassin's Creed photo shoot while I'm here? And so that kind of like was the seed for this idea of trying to incorporate photo shoots into travels and doing photo shoots in locations that are just really epic. And that's where the idea of epic cosplay was born.
And just another reason why I'm jealous of like a lot of the stuff on your page. Just
Yeah, I guess that's it.
it's
I'm
less
very
about the
fortunate.
cosplay and more about the locations. And I'm just sitting there like
Yeah, I get that. I can't apologize, but to be fair, I did my due diligence and I put in my many years in, the cubicle office environment. So it was
I
actually it
put
was my work with the comic scene fan conventions that actually led to the job that I have now. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity.
I would probably go nuts in a cubicle. I would lose my mind. Yeah.
I was pretty much there, so the job came along
Yeah.
at the right time for me. It was a good thing, and it's been a great experience. I really
It's
enjoyed it.
always fun around Thanksgiving and Christmas to try and explain to my family who are like, why don't you have like a real job like this or that? And I'm like, are you kidding? If I sat in a cubicle in front of a computer all day, I would lose my damn mind.
Yeah,
I would either have hung myself. Well, okay, I love myself way too much for that. I'd have probably gone on a mass murdering spree, or I'd just be doing what I do already and surfing around on the internet and getting absolutely no work done. Except the difference is the only person who can yell at me for like not getting work done is me because I work for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the language of get a real job is masked by people who are dissatisfied with their jobs and they want you to suffer as well. And they're saying, we don't want you to have a fun job or something that you enjoy or that you're passionate about because we don't have that. And why should you get that while I suffer?
I am totally I that's why I'm very happy with like what all we're doing and uh like setting up like starting our own kind of I mean it didn't the initial intention was never to start like a company or anything of our own, but we're going to end up having to eventually
Hmm.
for just because we're trying to create our own manga and we want to encourage other people here in the states to try and create their own original manga and we'll gladly put it up on like the site and cast for it and score it and stuff like that. This put the same attention to it that we put to the one that we're doing and it's just it'll probably end up becoming like an online publishing group
Hmm.
for manga.
A lot of them, everything that's been amazing in the entertainment world started small or started
Yeah,
with just an idea.
yeah,
Um, you know, Peter Jackson started making movies in his backyard, and then he did Lord of the Rings.
right.
So
Oh man. So many questions. Which one to pick? This is usually never the difficult part. Because for me, it's always like trying to find a question to ask, and I've got too many.
uh-huh.
What has been like, I guess, of all the places that you've gone to, you've had a lot of interesting experiences with them. What has been like the place that really stuck with you the most? It doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite place to visit, but just
Hmm.
the one that really stuck with you and why.
Oh, geez. I could answer that many different ways, but I think to tie into what with the cosplay and what we're talking about. Um, this year, I was fortunate enough to go to China. I
Hmm.
went to Qingdao, which is on the eastern end of the country. It's a peninsula on the Yellow Sea. I was there for a trade show, and I just happened to be there during my birthday.
Hmm.
Um, I was not really honestly looking forward to my birthday because I otherwise had been thinking that I was going to be spending it alone. And so, I was like, that's gonna suck. But I was anticipating going to work at Comic Con in London,
Hmm.
which actually fell during the same days. But the trade show was given the green light, and so I was nominated to go out there with a coworker of mine for this tech trade show. So it's like, okay, that's awesome. I can deal with being in China on my birthday. And with the travel, it was like a 13-hour flight. It's 12 hours ahead of us. Actually, 17 hours with connecting flights. And so Usually, like when we have travel that's that extensive, you have a recovery day in between because you've got to adjust your hours. And it just happened that my birthday fell on my recovery day. So I was like, I could either spend my birthday sleeping in a hotel room or I can be in China. And I started thinking about this before I went out there. And, I was like, how do I want to spend my time? It's my birthday. It's like I get that pass. Um, and so I was thinking about, the whole cosplay thing. I was like, how awesome would it be to do a photo shoot when I'm in China? And so I started digging around for like locations that would be proximate to where we were staying in Qingdao. And I found this amazing mountain, Mount Lao, which is
Oh
like
yeah.
45 minutes outside the city by bus ride. And so I was looking at pictures of the mountain, and it's like there's peaks that stick out over like foggy areas. There are pagodas, like blue waterfalls, rivers, rocks with like blue, like Chinese characters painted on them. And I just started thinking of like all the different anime series that this reminded me of. And the most immediate one was like, I felt like I'm looking at Legend of Korra, which is neither really like in Japan or China or anywhere. It's its own thing. So I started thinking about this. It was like I would love to do a Korra cosplay shoot. And I kind of ID'd all these locations. I didn't realize all these locations were like hours apart. If you were to walk, they were really spread out because it's like a mountain range. But I had a friend, Rory Ramon, Glitters Cosplay, who we collaborated, and she helped basically. She made under commission a Mako costume from Korra. And when I got there, I took this out with me, found a photographer, hired a photographer, and we went to Mount Lao. And the area we ended up going to is actually a temple, like this old temple that was actually, to this day, it's operated by like monks. And so,
Oh.
it's monks, it's tourists, and this crazy American guy running around dressed up like kind of a monk, but not. And then two of my coworkers were just getting a good laugh at this. So we were going to run around this temple, and we took a bunch of photos. And the monks would not allow themselves to be photographed. They had no problem with us being there taking photos, but it was against their beliefs to be photographed. So it kind of set up this idea that I was on the pursuit of this water bender as a firebender because we're on the coast. And we did some great shots. They're currently being edited by a friend to have some fire effects added. I haven't released them yet. But we had a lot of fun, and in the end, I took a picture by the coast, and there happened to be a monk like way back in the background. And it's like, well, I guess we can get a pass with this. Not to be offensive to the culture, but it was just too great of an opportunity because the guys there, the monks that were running this temple, looked like they had been pulled out of the series. It was just amazing. And so to have this opportunity, I couldn't think of a better way to spend a birthday than doing something like that. So that was a lot of fun, and it definitely is in line with the ethic of what I want to do with Epoch Cosplay, is to do these shoots that are environmentally based and just really exciting.
Okay. What are some travel tips that you've learned that you would like to pass on to anybody traveling out of country, especially considering there are a lot of hardcore anime fans that would love to go to Japan? What are some travel tips that you've learned that you would like to pass on to some of them?
Well, jet lag sucks, and so if you're flying anywhere, if you're able to sleep, it's a good thing. Usually, I'm incapable of sleeping on flights. I've been on like 7 international trips over the last 3 years or 2 years, and yeah, I've been asleep on one leg of one trip. So if you can't sleep, it's a good thing, I think. If you can't, try to stay up as long as you can until you reach like the sunset time of where you're at. So, if you have to stay up for like 35 hours, you're going to be much better off than just getting there and trying to sleep because your hours are so out of whack. The other thing is just wash your hands because you're going to get sick. I was a little worried about in China, and I I didn't really get like sick from like a cold or flu or something. I had some stomach issues, but I think that was more food related than anything. Um, so yeah, just wash your hands and try to sleep. And as far as just dealing with people, if people approach you offering services like transportation, something like that, be a little wary. I kind of got ripped off by a guy who was offering a service as a cab driver when I got to Dubai. Um, and it turned out it was not your standard cab, and so they jacked up the rate and everything like that.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, I 2011 flight from New York City to Charlotte. I think I confirmed that I can easily fall asleep on an aircraft.
That's awesome. I wish I could do that.
Well, I've also had I've also had international flights in the military, but I wouldn't chalk that up to just being tired. That was beyond tired. That was full on exhausted. Any trip
Yeah,
back from Iraq, any trip back from the Middle East back to stateside, whether you have stop offs, which we usually do, but like any trip back, you're gonna crash for like because at
yeah.
that
The
point in
one,
time, it's just a. I mean, and it's not. It's an even less comfortable flight because it's not nice chairs and stuff. You're laying against like your duffel bag and everything, but you will pass out. Like those flights are really really long, and like everybody else is sleeping. It's either watch a bunch of movies, make sure you have a portable DVD player with a bunch of movies, or pass out. Those are your options.
yeah, I tend to marathon movies. It's like this is a 4 movie flight. Let's see what I can get out of it.
I've got I for just you know uh cross country travel. I've done the 5 hour shot from Nashville to well technically Memphis to LA,
Hmm.
and I had 2 movies on my computer just ready to go. Like I'll at least have like 2 movies or like a TV series that I'll start watching through. As a there, best way to do it. Watch 2 episodes of Sherlock. Done.
That's all
That's
you need.
that's a trip from the East Coast to the West Coast, basically.
Yeah,
But, I mean, yeah, international flights get really, really long.
they can be. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, any other things that you learned from your travels that you think that you were like, ah, man, I should tell people about this, because it's
Um,
like awesome, or just to warn you, or
well, not so much that, but like if you are traveling, I say just make the most of it because it's so awesome to remove yourself from your culture and to place yourself in a totally foreign place, regardless of how foreign it might seem. Because no matter where you go, at least in my travels, what I've seen is that no matter where you go, you're still going to see familiarity, and that's a cool thing. And I think you're automatically wired to identify that. But something I like to do, depending on my travel schedules, because when I'm working, the days tend to be very long. They can be 9, 10 hours is a short day. Um, and they're pretty exhausting because on top of the jet lag, there's a lot of physical work that goes on with setting up event spaces and booths and things like that, and just interacting with the public all day long, and all the various responsibilities that come with it. So something I like to do, if time allows, when I get to a new place, I like to get lost in the culture. So I'll just like go out on my own for a first day or second day and walk around. I really like walking around at night in places and just seeing what it's like. Um, I had this notion for a while of like sort of thinking myself in the mindset of like being Doctor Who when I travel. In that you're in a new place and you never know which companions are going to come along with you.
right.
You meet all these new people, and sometimes you like spend time with people, and it's such a cool thing. I met when I was in Berlin. This was actually the very first event I did in my job with Gibson. So this was 2012. Actually, I just came back from my third time doing this same event. It's the IFA trade show, which is the largest tech trade show in the U.S. Um, so I was at this event. I met this girl who was a translator, and she was very friendly and like invited me to hang out after work, and it was just like doing the friendly European thing of I'm going to introduce you to this, that, and the other thing. And we ended up like going out to this really cool bar. It's called 8mm, which it was painted all black, and they showed like old martial arts films from the 70s and like grindhouse films, like projected on the side of the bar. So it was just a really cool atmosphere, and just had a really great conversation about like life and culture and philosophy and all these things. And I left there, and this was probably like 3 in the morning. But of course, your hours are all jacked up, so you're not tired. But I left at 3 in the morning. I got lost in like a tram station. Everyone takes trams and trains everywhere. I finally got my way oriented, and so I was headed back to my street. And when I got off the tram, like I noticed there wasn't anybody out. It was totally quiet. It was just one of the coolest experiences to be walking through the streets of Berlin at like 3 a.m. and it's completely silent. There's nobody around, no cars, no pedestrians or anything. And it was just a really neat thing to take that all in. And it's moments like that really kind of stick with you.
All right. Next big question for me. Best food you've had traveling. I gotta know.
Best food, gosh. For whatever reason, like overseas, they get it so right when it comes to breakfast. I'm not really a big breakfast person, but it's like if you took any given breakfast buffet and you injected it with steroids and made everything like organic and fresh and natural, you just have these amazing buffets that are like they encompass like full rooms. And so you get a lot of interesting stuff. Like the one in China was not the best that I've had, but it was probably the most interesting. It had everything from like kimchi to fish nuggets.
Okay.
And just random different, they were trying to accommodate different cultures. So they had like foods from Israel and, like lox and things like that. And
Man, do I love lamb.
yeah, like Korean food, Japanese food. So really they get that right. But I had some great food in China. I had great food in Berlin and Frankfurt. Food in the Middle East was just great. It's like that's something I tend to get right when traveling. It's just lucking into great restaurants.
I love some of the kebabs I had in the Middle East, man. They were really good. I love the kebab. But yeah. All right. If you guys have any questions, y'all, I'd like to ask. I'm keeping an eye out for any questions you guys might be posting. So please feel free to ask, or I'll be running out of questions eventually, and then this will become a lot more boring. All right. Well, first off, let's talk about some of the cosplays that you've done. We've got Casey Jones, Spider-Man, Mako. Those are the 3 that I saw in the brief run through, either that I've seen you doing at cons. I didn't know about the Spider-Man one. I saw that on your page as I was trying to run through and find a picture I could use as the banner. So I took the one that everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, she looks just like Gwen Stacy from the movie," and that's the one I took. I stole, put into Photoshop to change the dimensions, and then put up as the banner for this. So yeah, I stole your stuff, just so you know. Yeah, but yeah, talk about some of those. And oh my God, yeah, she really did look like Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, that's my friend Robin, and there's a tie-in story there that we can rat hole on in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, the Casey Jones and Spider-Man were 2 of the earliest ones. Although before that, I've been doing Death the Kid for a while from Soul Eater, so I've had that one. I just threw together. It's like just a real casual throw together cosplay. Superboy from Young Justice.
Yeah.
It's such an easy one to do.
Yeah, Todd
That's my lazy Sunday cosplay at most cons.
Todd will be very happy to hear about the Death the Kid cosplay stuff. I mean, he's the main character of the show we talk about, so that'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I met Todd Habercorn when I was wearing that the kid, and he was complimentary, which was a cool thing. So yeah, I've got a lot of different like I've got a laundry list of costumes that I want to work on, and so they're going to be coming down the pipeline. For the last few months, I've been working on getting together, and it's been through commissions and kind of curating it, but an epic Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
So
I've
I've
seen
been
that.
talking that one
That's
up
your
for a
banner,
while.
actually. That's your banner on your Facebook fan page. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the movie came out and it was a great movie. Um, and I started getting all these messages from friends who were like, dude, you have to cosplay the Winter Soldier. You look just like the guy.
Oh,
And,
Bucky.
I'll hear like, you look like this person or that person. I'm like, ah. But I looked at, uh, the actor and I'm like, okay, I can see that. I think we've got a very similar brow or
How do you feel
something.
about the news now that there's actually that they've announced that Iron Man's going to be in Cap 3
Oh yeah, Civil War is
in
what's
the
being
Civil
talked
War?
about.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, oh, we're getting into it now. It's so funny that we're talking about Marvel when my entire week has been nothing but DC.
we'll
Because I
see.
watched
You got to shake it up.
I watched season 1 of Arrow. I'm almost done with season 2. I watched the first episode of Flash.
Uh-huh.
I'm 4 episodes into Gotham, and on top of that, I just to take a break from watching so much Arrow, I jumped onto YouTube and just watched just like the best funny moments from Teen Titans Go, which
Oh
is
yeah.
basically a troll show.
Yeah. I did manage out of all those. I did manage to see the pilot for the Flash, which for me is just an amazing thing. It's my favorite character, and I'm fortunate enough to know and be friends with John Wesley Shipp, who portrayed the Flash in the original series from the '90s, that was my generation.
Yeah.
Um, I brought John as a guest into GMX Volume 3, and we've been good friends since.
Hmm.
So I'm so happy that they brought him back for the show. Now he was Barry Allen in the 1990-91 series. Now he's the father of Barry Allen, which I thought was a really, just a stroke of genius. Um,
Right.
and I think part of the ratings hit was that it got so much press on the front end
Yeah, it really
leading
did.
up to it. And I think a lot of that was because they were making these smart decisions. They brought John back, and people were excited that they're paying attention to what the fans want.
Also a big part of it was also having the merger with the Arrow TV show to show, hey,
Yeah, yeah, the
they exist
spinoff.
in the same universe. When
Hmm.
he showed up, I was like, wait, isn't this a little early? I mean, I've seen a lot of the previews and stuff, and then at the end of that episode, they actually showed the build up to him actually getting hit by lightning. I was like, wait a second. And then I stopped there and watched the first episode of Flash, and I was like, dang it, he goes into it's not spoiler at this point. He goes into a coma and he's in a coma for 9 months. That's
Yeah,
not even spoiler. And then he wakes up and he's got the powers. But I was like, oh, that's how you do it with season 3 taking place around the same time as episode 1 of Flash. You messed with me. Of course, if I'd have just jumped into the next episode of Flash, I would have, or like it was either
yeah.
the next episode or the episode after that. They straight out say, "Oh, he's in a coma," and I'm like, "Dang it,
Yeah, it's brilliant. I
they
mean,
got
and
me."
the fan service too is great. Like something I noticed in seeing that when they released the trailer, they had the scene of Barry in the red tracksuit on the track when they were testing his speed. There
Mm-hmm.
was a very similar scene in the original series, the 1990 series,
Mm-hmm.
where Barry was testing a suit on I believe it was a circular track. It's been a while
Mm-hmm.
since I've watched the pilot episode. Um, but I had dinner with John Shipp in Knoxville during Fanboy Expo. He was appearing as a guest, and I asked him about that scene because I'd seen this in the trailer, and he was just so excited about the new series, talking it up and just saying it's going to be great. It's going to, there's this really emotional scene at the end of the first episode that really
I know what you're
helps you
talking
connect with the
about.
characters,
Yeah.
and it was there. But I asked him about that scene. I'm like, was that intentional? Because that so reminded me of the original. And he said, yeah, they really put that in there as a throwback to the first the original series. So it's just like, you know, they're doing their homework and they're really doing a great job with that. So I wish that, as you know, every other comic book property and adaptation would be so wise to really be respectful of the source material.
Plus, we've got something very much to look forward to from episode 8 of both series, because they're doing crossover on episode 8 of both of the series.
Oh yeah. It's
So that's
gonna
going
be
to
good.
be really
Flash is that's one that's really high on my list as far as a cosplay, but I really want to do like a sculpted suit rather than just sort of an off-the-shelf type thing or spandex. So I would love to have something
right.
more along the lines of the first suit.
Yay, we moved back to cosplay. I didn't know how to pivot it, and then you just did it, and I was like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, see what I did there?
Yeah, I did. But yeah, going taking it back to cosplay. You know, what others? You know, what all have you done? What others would you like to do? You mentioned Flash.
Yeah, Flash is on there, and like what I've talked about has pretty much been the extent of what I've had. You know, I started doing cosplaying lightly 2 years ago. Anime Blues Con, third one, I guess it was 2012. Anime Blues Con was the first time I cosplayed, like officially, and so I had my Death the Kid and a secondary character from Star Driver, but. Yeah, I've got this long list. There's a lot of anime stuff on there. There's a lot of comic book stuff, some video game stuff. So I try to kind of keep some of it close to the vest. Maybe tease some things as they come out. But like you know, the Winter Soldier has been one that has been just sort of consuming me because I really want to get it right.
Right.
I'm not somebody who really criticizes people for cosplay. Like, there's a lot of people who like to hate on others who have like really thrown together costumes, or you know, the face paint might be bad or whatever. I really have a lot of disdain for that attitude, because if people want to cosplay, they can do whatever they want. And I love seeing just the creativity or even the effort that goes into putting something together.
I can't believe it's taken me 4 interviews to think of this question, but I'm going to be asking this to every cosplayer that I have from now on. I'm going to have to make sure I write it down. But if you had unlimited resources, whatever these resources need to be particularly for you, and yes, money could be included in those resources, what is the dream cosplay you would love to pull off?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. If money was no object, if you had it, what
That's
would
an
be
on
your
the
dream
spot
cosplay?
question, isn't it?
Like,
You know, I don't know that there's any one cosplay that would just be out of reach. I'm not saying like, you know, I have all the resources in the world or anything like that, but I just feel like if there's something I want to do, I'm going to do whatever I can to try to achieve that.
but like, I know for a lot of people, money, of course, is a restriction.
Yeah.
For, especially if they wanted to do it a certain way, and of course if they want to give it that Hollywood authentic feel, if they're trying to do a comic book movie version.
Yeah.
Please no bat nipples, please no bat nipples, people.
Right. Well, you know, one would be like I talked about, the like a sculptured Flash suit. That's something where and you know, if it were unlimited resources, that scenario, I would want to work with somebody, maybe like the original guy that designed the suit.
Right.
So that I've got somebody who's very capable and is going to make something that could be used on screen. So screen accurate is actually something I really am trying to push towards. And I actually, I'm off to the side here. I have some of the like props and things that I've collected so far for the Winter Soldier. So yeah, I guess it would be the Flash to answer the question.
All right, I'll be even with this. I'll reciprocate back. If money was no object and I could actually get my body into shape for it, which I doubt, because like I can put on muscle, but I probably won't put on that much muscle. I would love to do a full-on realistic version of Batman of the Batsuit from Arkham Knight,
Oh, nice.
because that's actually the like when it gets put on, that's actually like bits of metal on there. Like that's I was like, holy crap, it's a metal
Yeah.
Batsuit.
There's a,
Yes.
I'll send you a link to this after the interview, but there's a guy who, I'll show it to you. I've got the Winter Soldier mask,
Uh-huh.
and the guy that created it, like, it took me a while to find one that I really liked that looked, pretty authentic in terms of like the right coloration, the right texture to the material. Um, but I found this guy in China. This is his name, it's Ding Don. But he's an amazing creator in terms of and maker of cosplays. He's got an incredible Batman suit. It's kind of an original design. That I'll send it to you because it's just ridiculous. I mean, the guy could easily be working on feature films.
Right.
Um, so I'll shoot that your way, and you can kind of check out his work. But he does like Winter Soldier masks. I got that at a pretty good price, and
Right.
some other. He's got some
Now,
other stuff in
you're
there
also
that's
the
really good.
one. You're also the one that sent Luna Lini our way. What other cosplayers have you met and made friends with throughout your travels? Because you were mentioning that, and I was like, yes. Now that made me think of that question. So you're just leading me to the rest of the questions I have. It's making this fun.
Um, there's quite a few. I mean, of course, there's a lot in the local market
Yeah.
um, that are just exceptional, and I love all my friends that cosplay and what they do. As far as if you're wondering about like the more of the household name ones, I met Yaya Han a few times.
Yeah. We
I
have.
met at Dragon Con. I met Lindsay Elise
Mm,
and Abby Darkstar, who are both just wonderful people. I had the pleasure of meeting and working with Rachel Moore
mhm.
on the West Coast, and that was for an award show called the Geeky Awards, which every geek needs to know about because it's a really cool thing. I was able to work out a sponsorship with Gibson over the show this year, and so we did some really cool
Awesome.
things with that. Met some really cool, geek like celebrities and creators and people. But yeah, those folks were out there. So, but I think probably the one that really made the most impact was meeting Lindsay Elise. She's just an incredibly sweet person. I was with her at Garrett Wang from Star Trek Voyager. He's going to be a guest at GMX if he's well enough. I understand he's sick right now. But Garrett had a VIP party at his suite for
Hmm.
Dragon Con. He had all these people out from like different sci-fi movies and shows and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
we met Grant.
Imahara.
Grant. Well, no, not. Well, he was actually at the party, and I've met Grant before. But no, Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
he introduced us to this paranormal illusionist. And Lindsay and I were like, "What the frick is a paranormal illusionist?" And he's like, "Let me show you." So he had each of us hold out our right hand, and he put a pouch in it. He's like, "Hold on to that." And he showed us this deck of cards that were like really old pictures of like people from the turn of the century, so they're like black and white. And he's like, these. He's like, I want you to go through the cards, and you kind of pick which ones speak out to you. So he started with me, and I picked like 3 or 4 cards, and then she did the same. And then he revealed to us that these people were individuals that were on the Titanic, and some of them had survived, and some of them had perished. And so he had us open the pouches, and in her hand, she had a coin that was owned by someone who had survived the Titanic disaster. In my hand, I had a piece of coal that had been in the engine room, and this had been recovered from the wreckage. And so he told us to turn the cards over, and as we did, it turned out that all of her cards were of people who had survived, and all of mine were people who had perished. It was a really cool thing. I was geeked out by the fact that I was holding a piece of like Titanic history. I thought that was
Right.
awesome. But it was a really cool thing to meet her, and we kept in touch a little bit on
Well,
social
now
media.
saying that, I've now got an official request to make of GMX. Uh, person I want to meet before I die,
Hmm.
Kevin Conroy. I've met the Joker. I need to meet the Batman. Let's get Kevin Conroy for two.
I'll relay that message to the powers that be. He was, it was really cool. He was actually a guest at Fanboy Expo,
Mm-hmm.
and
He's a
I
really
was
nice guy.
fitness is a big part of my cosplay. It's something I've really gravitated
Yeah,
towards
no crap.
and adopted over the last year. But I was working out in the hotel that I was staying at, and
Uh-huh.
John Shipp was there, so I was like working out with one of my fitness idols, as well as a friend. Which I'm like,
Uh-huh.
this is great. But Kevin Conroy was there, and I saw him like the first day working out, and I didn't realize who it was. I was like, that guy looks familiar. This is driving me crazy. Um, and then like it just hit me like the next day. It's like that was freaking Batman. So I was working out with Batman and the Flash in the same room. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I wish it had occurred to me at the time, but then I kept seeing him after that. Like I saw him on the elevator, and just kind of exchanged pleasantries. But really nice guy. But yeah, he's a cool dude. Definitely someone that GMX should consider bringing in.
I have to put the Batman theme song on my phone, like the '89 song that they used as the theme song for the animated series. You
Oh
ever
yeah.
he ever steps in an elevator with me, I'm playing that. I don't care. Like that's gonna be my one fanboy moment. The rest of the time I'll just be like, "Hey, you're a person. Nice to meet you, Kevin." But
Yeah.
like,
That's
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 gonna
all
be
you
my
have to
one time
do.
that I fanboy right there. That'll be the
He would probably get a kick out of it.
They'll just look over at me. They're like, "Really?" I'm just like, "Let me have this moment. I'm not gonna bug you for a picture or an autograph. Just let me have this moment.
Let me bask in your presence.
Let me." I mean, if you turn around and look at me and say, "I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman," I'm gonna faint right here. Please don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, there was something I did want to mention. I was wanting to go down this track earlier, and I kind of
Yeah.
got derailed on other topics. But you were mentioning the Spider-Man um,
Mhm.
costume, um, and that was a cool process to put together because I kind of followed this online tutorial about someone who had basically commissioned this through different people. So I just sort of followed the blueprint for that to have it put together. But like in starting the Spider-Man cosplay, that gave rise to with my friend Rory, who I mentioned earlier, Blur's cosplay, who did the Mako costume. Um, we've got this really cool project in the works that was it was going to be in September of this year, but we
Mhm.
just did not have enough time to execute it. Which is our, and you may have heard about this, our Spider-Verse cosplay shoot.
Yes, yes. Talk more on that.
It's something that just kind of arose from an idea. I have this bad habit, or maybe it's a good habit, of when I think about something or have an idea, I'm never content with it being just a seed. It has to grow into like a massive oak tree. And so I was at MTAC with Rory, and I believe that was the debut of the Spider-Man costume. It was the first
Mhm.
time I'd worn it at a con. And she mentioned the fact is like, it'd be really cool if you did a Gwen Stacy Spider-Man shoot at the pedestrian bridge downtown. And Robin was there, and she wasn't cosplaying Gwen Stacy at the time, but she was, she had mentioned that. We're like, you look like Gwen, you should do that. And so I started to think about that concept, doing the shoot on a bridge, and it was like, what would be cool is if we had like 10 bad guys as part of the shoot as well. So, we have Gwen and we have Spider-Man and we have 10 bad guys. What would be even cooler would be if we had 30 bad guys. And I thought about it a little bit more and was like, what would be even cooler than that is if we had 300. So this idea was seized on, and I had read earlier, about the Spider-Verse story arc, which is currently, underway, which brings together all these different incarnations of Spider-Man. But what really inspired it was just this idea of doing a photo shoot, a thematic photo shoot on a pedestrian bridge that harkens, of course, to the the death of Gwen Stacy. I thought it'd be really cool to do a shoot where the photographs kind of are like a sequential art, like with a comic that tell a story. And so I kind of plotted out this idea of Spidey and Peter Parker on a date. They run into Mary Jane. Things get awkward. Mary and Gwen get into kind of an argument, and then all of a sudden bad guys show up. And so in the background, Peter Parker is like in the fight of his life against once he becomes Spider-Man, against all these villains from the Spider-Verse. And so we came up with this idea to do this photo shoot. And I created a page on Facebook, an events page, and all of a sudden, like all of these people just started latching onto this idea. They loved it, and it just started blowing up, which was just really better than we could ever have expected. And I started getting I was reaching out proactively as well to people that I knew had different cosplays, and a lot of them were like, I've got this version of Spider-Man, and you're already Spider-Man, so I'm not, I can't really participate. And it was a major bummer that so many people were like, I can't participate because I'm this Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, or Spider-Man from the movie, or 90s animated Spider-Man, or Scarlet Spider, whatever. And so I was like, what? There's this Spider-Verse thing, and we've got all these villains in mind. Why don't we bring this in and make it a Spider-Verse shoot? So the idea is that when Peter Parker confronts every person that's ever hated him in the world, the cavalry arrives, and we have characters from the Spider-Verse. And so to be as inclusive as possible, you could say it's a Marvel Universe shoot, but the criteria for involvement is that we want to bring in characters. If there's ever been any incarnation of a character that's appeared on the pages of a Spider-Man comic, or in a cartoon, or in a film, in any medium, that counts. That's well.
You can now add the Gwen Stacy Spider-Man version to it, because there's actually a Gwen Stacy Spider-Man.
No, I know, and it's so cool. So Peter Parker, Spider-Man, it's like he's like the Kevin Bacon of the Marvel Universe.
He knows everybody.
He does, and I have yet to find a single character that hasn't appeared in some form or fashion at some point.
That's what happens when you become an Avenger.
From the X-Men series, or characters from Fantastic Four, Avengers. There's so much crossover,
right?
And so it's kind of funny. It's like they'll say, "Well, I want to be this character," and I'll look it up and I'll find this, issue 224 of Amazing Spider-Man. Ha! There they are on the same panel. And so it's really about it's not so much about it has to be this accurate or what. It's really about just something fun that celebrates that universe. That Spider-Man is the kind of the skeleton of the story. But there's some secondary components to what we're doing, and that we're kind of like what you're doing. We're building this thing, and there's we've got a website in preparation, and there's some more details that we're going to be announcing that are really exciting. So it's going to be more than just a photo shoot.
Oh yeah.
And
I remember
so
you discussing that with me.
Aspects to it that are going to make it a really exciting thing for those involved.
I didn't know what you could or could not announce, so I figured I was going to leave it all up to you.
Yeah, we're still kind of, not really publicizing all the different elements, because we want to make sure when we do that, one, that I want Rory to be present, but two, that we're doing it in a way that it's, it's giving it proper due. So, there's a cosplay, or I'll send you a link again after the interview, but there's a page on Facebook for the event page for anyone who wants to be involved. And we've had interest from people from as far as like Canada, New York, California. It's really crazy. And everyone who hears about it is just like, I want to be a part of that. But what we're doing is, for the core of it, so people understand the concept, the plan is to actually rent the pedestrian bridge. We want to take it over and set up have a day of doing this photo shoot. And so, if as many characters as we can fit in, as many people as want to participate, anybody's welcome. We do want to keep it within the Marvel Universe, within that realm of characters that have been associated. So for people, showing up with, like, of course you can have Deadpool, but, people are like, hey, I'm Lionel from the Thundercats.
Oh my God, now I want to be Deadpool.
We'll probably have a few, but there's so many different versions of Deadpool, bring it. That's welcome.
Oh
But
my
we do
God,
have a
guys.
tracking list
I want to
of
be Chef Pool. That's what I want to be. I want to be
we've
Chef
we've
Pool.
had, we've had like people say I want to be this person or that, so you can see like who's been called, and if you want to do a different version, then you can say, oh, I'm doing this version of Venom versus this one. Um, so we've got that information, and people can get an idea. Or if they have a different character and like, well, I was going to be this guy, but now I know that someone else is doing it, I want to be this guy instead.
We're about to have somebody else joining the chat from our crew. I hope she gets on in time to hear this because she'll probably want to jump in on it too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She's actually the one that is supposed to be in charge of the cosplay segments. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just that her work runs pretty late, so
I
she doesn't
understand.
usually get home until later on. So
Yeah. And
she's turning her computer on now, so I assume it won't be much longer. But yeah.
you mentioned earlier about, which like notable cosplayers have you met? This is definitely an event where I hope potentially that we'll be seeing some of those faces. So
Right.
that's sort of
Well,
the direction.
I wasn't necessarily notable cosplayers. I don't think. Maybe I did say that, but I mean, just what cosplayers did you meet that like really stuck out that you got a chance to that you may have gotten some more time to talk to and hang out with than just say like seeing some people walking by and they're like, oh hey,
Yeah.
yeah.
God, there's so many people, especially when
And
you
hey, if it's cool if they're not known because
right.
now you're making them known. So there you
Exactly.
go.
And
Like we're adding to it. And like I said, man, if you got a list of people that you think we should talk to, freaking send us a list, man. You know our email.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I,
You
I'm
know,
not I am not picky about this. Send cosplayers there. We want to that's the whole purpose of this segment is to kind of interact with that community and cosplay
right, right.
rather large community. He's here. Okay,
Hello.
continue talking about the pedestrian bridge Marvel shoot. Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about this thing that's going to happen. I've been sort of slowly building with my friend Rory Ramon, Glitters Cosplay for gosh, this started back in April, but it's basically just to recap what we were talking about. It's basically a um, a photo shoot on a pedestrian bridge in Nashville, Tennessee, that's going to depict the Spider-Verse. So we're trying to get a
Hire
substantial
Spider-Man
number of
universe.
Marvel, especially Spider-Man tie-in characters cosplaying for this event. So it'll be a thematic photo shoot, and we just want to really make a splash with it.
Yeah, so it would basically be just about anybody that's ever shown up in the Spider-Man universe. I can't wait for all the arguments between Spidey and Deadpool. It's gonna be fun.
You're a dork.
I am, and I'm proud of it, and you are too because you're on this show.
Yeah, shush.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't stay on for long. I'm actually exhausted and I have to wake up early tomorrow. But
And
I'm on!
you're not the only one who's exhausted. I had to change my entire sleep schedule so I'd be awake for this. So I'm
Well, you didn't work for 10 hours, so. I
define
win.
work. No, you don't. Define work.
An actual job, doing actual things. Or I have to pretend like I'm a nice person and be nice to people.
You think I don't do that on a regular basis?
Yeah, but you don't have to do it 6 days a week
No,
for
I
10
have to do it
hours each
7
day.
instead. I have to do it 7 instead, and usually for 16-hour increments. I have to pretend like I actually like the human race.
It's okay, you have your puppies.
Yeah, I do. And I've worked retail. I know how that goes. Yeah. Worked retail in
Retail
several places.
sucks.
Yes, it does. Moving back to cosplay, which is much more interesting.
Are you sure? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's much more interesting. Did you get a chance to check out his? No, he probably didn't. His Facebook page. I linked his fan page.
I'm going right now.
People troll through your pictures. It's all good.
I think I uploaded. I'll have to check.
You'll get a lot more likes very soon, especially once our Mira Jane jumps on. And like
Yay.
afterwards,
Your cosplay is so unfinished that the materials are still on this shelf at the fabric store. I will never stop laughing at that.
That's one of my favorite
I
memes.
will never stop laughing at that.
the materials are still sitting at the shopping store.
I did I can't remember if I've uploaded the photos yet. I need to check on this. I thought I did recently, but talking about like environmental shoots, I was in New York City for an event, and I thought about this idea, but I didn't think it was going to happen. Where I wanted to do a Spider-Man shoot in New York City on top of a tall building, and I was lacking. By the time I got to New York City, I hadn't had time to track down a photographer, and I hadn't had time to locate a tall building that I could have
Suitable.
rooftop access. So I had a coworker that was working this event with me, and we were just talking, and I mentioned she mentioned, oh, by the way, on this night, which was like once the event was done, he was like, I'm going to a rooftop party. I was like, okay. And I'm like, interesting. And so I mentioned what I wanted to do with this Spider-Man thing, and I brought my suit with me just in case. And she was like, well, I'm a photographer. I was like, okay, so you have a photography background, and you have a rooftop. All right. So I drove, with her down to this area, like after the show was over, and put on the suit, had some people laughing about it, and went on the rooftop and did some awesome Spidey shots for what we had. The lighting was a little fuzzy. It was nighttime. But it was a cool experience to be able to do a Spidey shoot in New York City, some buildings in the background.
It'd be great if you could actually physically recreate a scene from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It's like, nice Spider-Man costume. Hey, thanks. And you just fly off. They're like, what?
That would be awesome. Yeah, that's the next thing. Now, yeah, you're asking about if I could have anything. I would want a functioning Spider-Man suit.
That would be awesome. You could actually be Spider-Man, and I'll join you as Batgirl too.
Price for no object. If you had unlimited resources and money, I would be Batman.
I would be Batman. No, I would be Batgirl.
I would already be Batman. I straight out said if I had unlimited resources and everything, I would be Arkham Knight Batman because he's got that metal suit, and I'm like, oh, I want that. And I also want the Batmobile tank. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm
Who
like,
doesn't want a Batmobile?
right? I do. Now I'm having flashbacks of that of the Piano Guys Batman video that got taken down.
Oh yeah.
They had the three Batmobiles there. They had the old Adam West era Batmobile, and they had the Michael Keaton Batmobile, and then
That's my favorite to this day.
and then they had the Dark Knight Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, they had the Tumbler, and I was like, oh my god.
That's so cool. Yeah, the Tumblr was in Nashville a year or so ago. It's on like the Tumblr tour came through.
I missed it.
Yeah, I got to see it at the Mall of Georgia too. And I was a rebel because it was like do not touch, and like nobody was looking, and I like poked it and ran for it.
It broke.
I remember doing something similar at New York Comic Con a couple of years back in 2011 because they had the Mystery Machine, they had the Adam West Batmobile, and they had the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and they were letting people like actually sit in two of them. Like they had this one particular photo shoot. There was the Adam West Batman cosplayer that was running around with the giant bomb. He was running around with that, yeah. And they let him actually take a photo near it, but they wouldn't let him in the Batmobile. But the others you could actually get in and everything. And I was like, but they were charging to get in, so I just ran over, touched the seat, and ran away. I was like, you can't charge me, I didn't sit down.
I'm a big fan of the whole Star Cars thing. And there's a group in Los Angeles called Star Cars that is basically like this loosened organization of guys and girls who built or purchased these prop replica vehicles. And it's so neat to see them at events. I was at Long Beach Comic Con a couple years ago, and there were like 9, 10 of them I actually brought in a DeLorean time machine to an event I did in Las Vegas. Then I saw the '89 Batmobile at the Geeky Awards, so they've just kind of been around there. Actually, a really probably my favorite is because I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. You know, I do the Casey Jones cosplay. A good buddy of mine, Jason Ibarra, yeah, he lives in LA. He's a stunt guy for films, like a stunt driver. He was in the like the reshoot segments for the Power Rangers. He was the Red Ranger early on. So like, and he was some other like ancillary villains and stuff for the Power Rangers. But he has and you might have seen this online at some point. It's in some of my photos. He has a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles van based off the Party Wagon from the the original toy line from Playmates. It is awesome. The door swings out. It's built out like actual turtle. And it's just such a trip to see that and get photos. I have this photo shoot planned. I don't have a date for it, but we've talked about doing a Ninja Turtles, Casey Jones, Turtleverse type photo shoot in Los Angeles featuring the band and some other people.
All you have to do is tell Rob Pawson when and where. He'll show up.
Rob's a good buddy of mine, and I love Rob to death. And I don't think we can do this unless we have Rob in the role of April O'Neil's father being kidnapped. So, if you're going to do a photo shoot, you should tell a story with it. How awesome would it be to have Rob as part of that? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's already happening as far as the thought process.
All right, I demand at least one thing. You have to have one set of turtles. I don't care which version they are. One set.
We already have the turtles. That's the cool part. Jason,
you have to have one set of turtles
that are the live action movie scenes from the original the good live action movie.
You have to have one set of turtles that are standing over the original NES game, just crushing it with their weapons.
Now that's great, like the Office Space scene in the field.
Yeah, but it's done with the original NES Turtles game. Like,
if you're a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd, you should watch the Ninja Turtles episode. It's really good.
Oh God.
If you're not a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd, you should be. James Ross.
They said it best in the Epic Rap Battles of History when they did the artists versus the turtles thing.
Yeah.
And they straight out said, "We're like your NES game because you can't be beat." And I'm like, I know that feel. I remember that.
That game was so hard. I still have it. It's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. What was the kids react to the NES games? Like they had to play NES games and they played Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and I was like,
oh my God,
I think that's evil. You think Mike Tyson's Punch Out is evil? Oh my God. Play the original Ninja Turtles game. You will suddenly miss Mike Tyson.
They don't know what they missed.
They don't know. You don't know. All right. I think I've asked most of my questions.
Well, what did you ask him so I don't repeat it?
What has been his favorite place to visit? Because he's been all over the globe.
That's awesome.
What has been his favorite food? What cosplays is he looking forward to doing? Advice for people wanting to travel, and then we started geeking out about DC and Marvel stuff.
I just bought a video game.
Cool.
Is that Kingdom Hearts
That's 1.5 HD remaster. I mean, I have all the Kingdom Hearts, but I just wanted the HD one, obviously, for obvious reasons.
No.
I was gonna buy Evil Within, but then my boyfriend was like, "Yeah, you're gonna die a lot, and it's gonna piss you off." And I was like, "I'll play your copy. That's fine."
I tried to stay away from a lot of the big cosplay questions because I figured you'd be coming on.
You're like, I figured you'd know.
No, I just figured you'd be coming on, and I wanted to give you a chance to actually ask questions pertaining to cosplay. I mean, my last question is going to be con related. So
yay.
Yeah.
How long have you been going to conventions?
He runs.
I started going in 2009 with MTAC, and then GMX followed. And just since then, I've just been all over the place. This year I've set this goal of doing one convention a month. And so I'm on track with that. GMX will be my 9th for the year.
He's gonna turn into Devin eventually.
He's
Devin's
already
going to turn
there.
into me.
Yeah, Devin's gonna turn into him. Like he's been doing. He actually is more or less a person that runs GMX.
Oh, that's awesome. I wish I was going. Salty.
Yeah.
Not my problem that you're not going.
I know, I'm pissed. That's why
I gave out
To clarify on that, no, I actually stepped down from GMX.
Did you?
Did you? Why?
At the end of last year.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
still very much involved with, just helping out here and there. I'm going to be doing a panel at GMX.
Yeah,
and I might be moderating some panels as well.
Come by and check ours out.
What's that?
Come by and check ours out then.
Cool. Yeah.
We're doing the how to make manga panel.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing a panel on
Cross
events
promotion.
production, like what it takes to do conventions and events from all the different aspects of like promotion, talent, involving talents, programming, everything that just.
Oh yeah, she thought I think she thought you were just a regular con goer like us.
Nobody told me this was happening until you messaged me going, "Are you going to be on tonight?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll be home in 30 minutes."
I sent out on Monday all the stuff stating, "Hey, we're gonna have an interview on Friday."
Remember what was happening with my internet on Monday?
No,
That's why I
'cause
couldn't
I've
be on.
I've
Remember?
slept since then. No, yeah, but you could have seen the stuff I posted on Tuesday.
I totally was not paying attention to anything you posted.
Oh, fine, I see. Not my fault. Love you too, but not my fault. Not.
That's all it takes.
All right. Well, then in that case, could you really quickly, Jeremy, explain to her who you are, what you do?
Yeah. Geez, I do different things. So, Jeremy Miller.
I do everything. Done. Explanation done. That's all.
I've been involved in the convention scene since 2009. In 2012, I became an executive staff member for GMX, and I was over 4 different departments on all the content, basically, programming, talent relations, PR, and exhibitions. So I did that for 2 years. The third
Basically,
year
he
doing
was
that,
the
I just
vice
did talent
conchair.
relations. And then in 2012, I was hired by Gibson Brands with Gibson Guitars as a global events manager. So professionally, I do events management, which is
That's
very similar in
awesome.
many respects to being part of the con world. And that's where a lot of the travel comes in, both globally and domestically.
And we were talking about how you were in China for your birthday,
I love China.
and you ended up on a mountain that looked, or you had mountains in the background. It looked like something straight out of Avatar. The last day.
Yeah, well, we were on the mountain for that. So I went on. It's Mount Lao. Google it because the pictures are gorgeous. And there's a temple on the mountain. And actually, there's a few. And I did a Mako cosplay from Legend of Korra at the temple. So I figured that was a good way to spend my birthday since I was in a foreign country, but almost by myself. I had one other coworker and then some coworkers that live in China. They were around.
So he did a Mako cosplay with the mountains and everything in the background. It looked like he was in Legend of Korra. That's
Nice.
awesome. It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
It was really cool. And once I get the photos edited, I'll be posting the set to the cosplay page.
Yeah, because I knew I'd seen you as Mako before. I can't remember which con it was, but I knew I'd seen you cosplaying Mako before.
Yeah, I just had that at AWA.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have seen you at AWA this year because I was there for like 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
I was running around like a maniac because for some reason I always like to do a ton of panels and schedule a shit ton of photo shoots at AWA.
That's why I was like...
Sure.
I think I saw Richie for like 2 minutes, and then I was like, okay, gotta go, bye.
You spoke to Caleb for like 30 seconds.
Yeah. I thought he was still on the phone. I felt bad.
No. And then, and of course, we were only there for a couple hours, so we saw very few people because we weren't buying a day badge for just being there for like a couple hours. That
Yeah, they
it,
really clamped down on access to the.
they clamped down on a lot of stuff, but that's neither here nor there, and not something that needs to be discussed live.
Yeah.
But like we couldn't go up on the second floor because they had the entire second floor blocked off, and I was like, what is the deal here? Okay.
No con for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't even to the point that I could go to anybody's booth that I knew there. Like, I happened to see Cody because when we were pulling up to the hotel, he happened to be pulling up right next to us. So I was like, "Hey, Cody!"
Tall Cody?
Yeah, tall Cody.
Okay. I know a couple of Codys.
A KaiCon Cody.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that Cody. Yeah.
I actually
Basically,
had texted him.
the only Cody I know. He's the only Cody I know that I'll walk out of the car and look immediately at him and be like, "Give me a kiss, bitch.
Yeah, that Cody.
Give me a kiss, bitch." But yeah, it's I didn't really see a lot of people at AWA because we were there for such a short time, but it was really fun, you know. A lot of the Mid South stuff. It might have been Momo that I saw you at though. Maybe MomoCon.
Mm, wait, if I was there?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't able to attend Momo this year.
Hmm.
No, I was at AWA. I was at Dragon Con.
Yeah. I know you're
I
at
was at
Dragon
Dragon Con. It
Con.
was
Yeah.
fun.
We were actually press at Dragon Con this year. That was really surprising for us that we got in as press. We were like, wait, we're good enough to get in as press now? Woohoo! All I had to
You
do
are.
was do this for
You guys
5
rock.
years. 5 years later, and I'm in on Dragon Con. Woohoo! And now we've got Naruto ending that we've got to talk about that. They've got a movie coming out that I won't probably see for at least another year because it takes that long apparently. And then they're doing a Naruto New Era project, which we don't know much about, and I'm hoping that it's like New Era means we get to see them as adults finally. Please stop being childish. Or who am I kidding? Naruto's always going to be childish.
Yeah, it always is. It's
At least
Naruto.
at least the main character will be. Everybody
Yeah.
else will grow up. Yeah. Yes, continue on. You have questions. I'm running my mouth and interrupting, so I'm going on mute.
Like always. That's right, go hide. How many costumes have you done? Because I've been scrolling through your cosplay page, but I don't a lot of people don't put all their photos on there. I know sometimes I forget.
I haven't done a super huge amount. I've got a Casey Jones. I've got a Spider-Man that's Amazing Spider-Man 2, the cinematic version. I've got a Death the Kid that I do. I've got Superboy from Young Justice.
I do Batgirl from Young Justice.
Oh, cool. You should bring that to GMX because I'll probably have the
I'm not
Superboy
going,
there.
remember? Sob cry. I would have because that costume is way too hot for me to wear during the summer. I actually almost passed out at Dragon Con.
Oh,
So.
yeah. I've
But
got those. I've
continue.
got the Mako from Korra, and I've got a long list. I'm going to be doing less con appearances next year unless I'm able to work out subsidizing of that. But
Yeah.
I'm probably going to work on more costumes for next year and do more photo shoots. But the big one I've been working on is, and it's just been extremely expensive, is my Winter Soldier. And so I've got currently, I've procured all the weapons and such for him. And my personal philosophy on cosplaying for me, and this isn't what I believe for everyone, but for me, it's about just getting it right. and I really fixate on making sure that I have something that's as close as possible to what you see on screen, if that's possible. So when it comes down to it, you know, I'll probably spend more money than I should on the different components. And like, you know, here I've got all these different off screen, but I've got all the different like guns and things for the Winter Soldier. And so, you know, for like I like to purchase airsoft guns, and he has 4 different guns on him that he just wears. And then, of course, he has this series of guns that he picks up in the movie. And so for like the firearms, I'm going to show you a couple. You see, this is this is a Cop 357. You can see it. This is actually metal, and the only thing that keeps this from like looking like the real thing is this orange paint on the tip, which is a law in the U.S. for airsoft weapons. It's like a 4-barrel gun, which is really cool. I think it was also featured in Blade Runner, and it's been in a few other movies. But it's, you know, it's actual metal, and so if I were to just scratch off the paint, you wouldn't know the difference between this and the actual firearm, which is cool. I've got another metal piece. This is a Scorpion CZ BZ61E. It's a 32 weapon, and so this also, the receiver, some of the components are synthetic, like the handle is plastic, and the clip, but the actual body is metal, so it's heavy. And again, the orange tip is the only thing that, you know, gives it away as not being an actual firearm. And then probably the gun that I really love for this character, and it's just a really cool piece. This took me forever to find. But it's a 6-hour P226, and it's all metal. I mean, it's heavy. It's actually, this was licensed to a Japanese company, Tokyo Marine, and so like this piece was licensed by SIG. So if you look at it, I don't know if you can see the detail up close, but you see 6-hour on the barrel. This is like, I believe it's actually cast from the same components that make the actual firearms, except of course they've modified it so you can't turn it into an actual weapon, but it like cocks.
Oh, that's
an
awesome.
Firearm. The clip is metal. I mean, it's crazy. And so this has been out of production for a few years, and I looked all over the freaking internet to find it. It was not cheap at all. Actually, it's about half the price of the actual firearm. So, where, you know, you can get this style of gun for like 30, 40 bucks. It was substantially more. And being out of production, I found it on a site in South Korea. It wasn't even in English. And every other site that I looked for that particular weapon, it was sold out. So I think I found the last website that's actually carrying it. It was shipped over with like tape over the 6-hour label, so I think that there's probably some legal thing there that they're not supposed to be selling them anymore since that copyright, I think, is expired. But like with this, it's like, you know, for me, having the actual like metal components is a big thing for having like firearms that look realistic, having knives that are either actual accurate knives. This is actually a plastic cast knife, one that the character uses. This is like the Gerber Mark II, which is a stiletto type of knife. So it's plastic, but it actually cuts. It's kind of sharp. So I've been working with the guy, his name's Shane Brennan. He's in Canada, and he's been working on the straps and holsters. And this guy is obsessed with screen accuracy. So the stuff that he's putting together, I've posted a few photos on my cosplay page. The stuff he's been building is just amazing. It looks like what you'd see on set. And another friend, Angelica Rion, is doing the jacket and the pants for me, because I'm not the crafty type when it comes to doing a lot of this stuff myself. And as well, Shane is working on doing a metal version of the arm, which I've not seen one yet at a con that's been made of metal. I've seen a lot of like foam latex or rubber arms. I've seen some arms that are pretty cool. It's that particular aspect of the costume is difficult to do because film version is not real. It was actually CGI. So it's a very difficult thing to manufacture something that looks kind of comparable to what you see on the screen.
I like listening to you talk about guns. It's interesting.
You know, I'm not like this big gun nut or anything. I don't really know a lot about firearms. I grew up around them. I grew up in East Tennessee, so like my dad had a lot of guns. You know, he would fire them in the backyard. So I grew up around them and firing them and stuff. But for this, I've become really invested in getting the character right, and so it's been a thing of like tracking down the right pieces and not just having something that kind of looks like it. I want to have exactly what the character had. Another one is like this. This is called an Intratec Tech 38. This is actually cast from plastic. It's resin. This one, there's not an airsoft version available. So, and it's a very rare firearm. It was also featured in I can't think right now which film, but this has been featured in some different movies. It's like a 2-barrel firearm, and I think the barrel gauges there's something about it, like they're different or something. It's very strange and not the most aesthetically pleasing weapon, but it's something that I of course had to get because it's part of what the character has, as well as getting the right knives. He has 4 different knives that he wears on him. So it's that and the mask. I showed the mask earlier. This was something I tracked down from a guy in China. His name's Ding Don. He's an amazing, yeah, that's his name. I'll send you a link to his page, but he's an amazing, extremely talented fabricator. This cost me about $100.
That looks awesome, though.
To ship.
Wait, put it on your
face. By Velcro. Yeah.
That is like legit. Look at that. That is so awesome. You have become Bucky. That's really cool.
The only thing about it is that that there are no air holes in it. So when you breathe out, it blows air into your face. I'm actually going through, and it's supposed to be ventilated. There are little slits that are made into the rubber. You can see there. So I'm going through with the X-Acto knife and cutting those out.
So that you can breathe.
Yeah.
Oh, air's overrated.
But it's things like that where it's, for me, a lot of people make their own cosplays, and I would love to get to the place where I can do that. I'd like to learn.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I was like, do you plan on, like, because I'm self-taught with sewing. I've been sewing since 2009, and it took me at least 2 to 3 years to get like really, really good, where I learned to like how to line everything and different techniques and everything, where I actually like start chugging out costumes and still having good quality. Because I'm really perfectionistic about that too.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. I haven't yet made things myself, but I'm really eager to learn to do that because I think there's something about that level of pride that people have when they can express. I was a pretty crafty and creative kid, and I loved art when I was a kid. And so I love doing things with my hands. So I think that when I get into it, just being the perfectionist that I am, that I'll really invest a lot of time into getting things to a level that I'm really happy to show them off. But it's a matter of just having the time and learning the skill sets. I'd love to learn prop making, fabricating, casting, metalwork, leatherwork, all of those skill sets. Sewing something I really wanted to learn for a while. So because it just adds a different level of authenticity when you're able to say, this is something that I made.
You said prop work and metal work, and the first place my mind went was right to Man at Arms. I was like, so you want to make a legit freaking hero sword from Zelda? Yes, totally do the Master Sword. Yes, I will purchase one from you. Man, all right. So we're gonna have to end really soon. So I want to finish off with the last question. I know that you've worked with several charities, having worked in cons. Is there a specific charity you want to promote before we end this?
Actually, 2 that are kind of ones that I really am a big supporter of.
Mm-hmm.
One's an organization that's local,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the Oasis Center, which works with, I hate to say disadvantaged youth, but young kids that otherwise, they're having difficulties in their lives. They might have a erratic home life. They might be homeless. Just different things affecting them, and they do some really great things to help them out in terms of helping prepare for school, providing resources, a place to stay for safety, counseling, things along those lines. And it's a charity that GMX supported in 2011. God, there's so many I could go into because there's a lot of things that I really care about. I guess probably the most personal one for me too would be, and it's just more of a cause, would be suicide prevention.
Yeah.
Something that's big for me in my cosplay. Everyone cosplays for different reasons, and for me, like the big motivator of doing Epoch Cosplay is that I really want to use it as a platform to advocate on causes that are like personal to me or close to my heart. And to advocate for things like fitness. That's a big thing for me, and I feel like the geek community can really benefit from that. I created flex programming with GMX to address that, so it's something I can do now since I'm no longer with GMX on a personal level. But the whole cause of suicide prevention, that was like when I was a teenager. I went through a very difficult period, and just basically, I'll go into my whole story, but turned myself a suicide survivor. And so, that was something else that GMX supported last year with Out of the Darkness. So I think that's something that our community, the geek community, really deals with, the whole thing of bullying and what that can lead to. So, any general suicide prevention efforts are something that I really am passionate about supporting.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us. This is going to be the end of our show, guys. Don't feel bad if you didn't catch it live. You can always post comments. We are always eager to see your comments, and if you guys have any questions, we can shoot those over to our guests later and have them back at a later time, whatever. We really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on. That is it for us on the Fairy Tale Podcast. We will see you on Monday's live show.